Peace to everybody, back with another video. And as you know, this is Halloween week, and I brought you another story, and this is about the Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky. Is considered to be one of the most haunted locations in the world. And of course, like I said, this is Halloween week where I'll be bringing different stories of things that are haunted or facts about something. And as you can see here in the picture and the screenshots is the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. They had closed a long time ago and is one of the most haunted places in the world. During the 1800s and early 1900s, America was ravaged by a terrifying and very contagious plague known by many as the White Death, tuberculosis. In 1900, Louisville, Kentucky, one of the highest tuberculosis death rates in America. So this place, during the 1800s and early 1900s, America was ravaged by a terrifying and it was very contagious plague known by many as the White Death. So it was the tuberculosis. People were dying left and right because of this so-called plague that was causing people to die. To try to contain the disease, in 1910, a two-story wooden sanatorium was opened, which consisted of an administrative main building and two open-air pavilions, each housing 20 patients for the treatment of early cases. The hospital quickly became overcrowded, though, and with donations of money and land, a new hospital was started in 1924. So they tried to contain the disease in 1910, and of course, 1910, a two-story wooden sanatorium was opened, which consisted of an administrative main building. It did house 20, each housing had 20 patients for the treatment of early cases. The hospital quickly became overcrowded, though, and with donations of money and land, a new hospital was started in 1924. And as you can see, here is the sanatorium itself. And this was in the early part of 1911. The city of Louisville began to make preparations to build a new Louisville City Hospital. So this was being built. Here's another screenshot of it. It opened in 1910 as a two-story hospital to accommodate 40 to 50 tuberculosis patients. And this is what it was like back during the day before it closed for good. The new structure, known as Waverly Hills, located in southwestern Louisville, Jefferson County, Kentucky, opened 2 years later in 1926, and it was considered one of the most modern in its day. When the building was in operation, there was such a tremendous amount of deaths in patients that occurred at the Waverly Hills Sanatorium that a special chute was built, which led to the bottom of the hill down below the sanatorium. One of the names this chute was commonly known by was the Death Tunnel. So this was a new structure back then. It was known as Waverly Hills, located in southwestern Louisville, Jefferson County, Kentucky. It did open in 1926 after 2 years. It was considered one of the most modern in its day, but unfortunately, one of the chute, it was known as the Death Tunnel. So when somebody passed away, they had to take the deceased person to the Death Tunnel because they didn't want the bodies to be contaminating through the rest of the hospital, so they took it to the Death Tunnel, and the Death Tunnel is where all the deceased would go after they pass away. And as you can see, here's the rooftop room of the Sanatorium of the Waverly Hills. And it's been abandoned for so many years. Um, Here's another rooftop windows that's no longer there, but it used to be windows there. The tunnel, also known as the body chute, was constructed at the same time as the main building, beginning on the first floor and traveling 500 feet to the bottom of the hill. One side had steps to allow workers to enter and exit the hospital without having to walk a dangerous steep hill. The other side had a set of rails and a cart powered by a motorized cable system so that supplies could easily be transported to the top. So the death tunnel, or the tunnel, was also known as the body chute, obviously. It was constructed at the same time as the main building. It began on the first floor and it traveled to 500 feet to the bottom of the hill. So it was pretty steep back then. One side had steps to allow workers to enter and exit the hospital without having to walk a dangerous steep hill. And of course, the other side had a set of rails and a cart powered by a motorized cable system so that supplies could easily be transported to the top. So whatever supplies they had that the hospital needed, it was transported to the top. Air ducts leading from the roof of the tunnel to above ground level were incorporated every 100 feet to let in light and fresh air. The tunnel was also used to remove patients to the waiting hearses at the bottom of the hill and out of sight of living patients. The tunnel is supposed to be haunted by those who made their last journey through it. So the tunnel is supposed to be haunted, and of course by those who made their last journey through it, all the deceased people that had died from this plague, allegedly. Of course, air ducts leading from the roof of the tunnel to above ground level were incorporated every 100 feet to let in light and fresh air. So that's what they needed, was light and fresh air. The tunnel was also used to remove patients to the waiting hearses at the bottom of the hill. So instead of letting the bodies be going through where the living is, they take them to the tunnels for the hearses. And of course, here's what it looks like. Many patients survived their stay at Waverly Hills, but it is estimated that hundreds died here at the height of the epidemic. So this is what it looks like now. It's abandoned. There's nothing there anymore. Also, here's another screenshot of it. It's considered to be one of the most haunted buildings to be found anywhere in the world. So if you are living anywhere around that, do not go in there, please, because I mean, the paranormal, I don't know how they can go in there to check around it for things, this and that, and and it's scary that the paranormal, they go in these places that are abandoned and haunted, and they look for things or try to get EVPs and whatever else they need. The hospital closed in 1961 due to the development of the antibiotic drug streptomycin lowered the need for such a hospital. Some urban legends claim that over 9,000 deaths occurred at the sanatorium. According to the assistant medical director, Dr. J. Frank W. Stewart, the highest number of deaths in a single year at Waverly Hills was 152. So 152 people died at this hospital. It closed in 1961 because of the antibiotic drug streptomycin. and it was lowered the need for such a hospital. Urban legends claim that over 9,000 deaths occurred at the sanatorium, but only 152 were deceased there. And this is according to Assistant Medical Director Dr. J. Frank W. Stewart. Stewart wrote that the worst time for deaths was at the end of the Second World War, when troops were returning from overseas with very advanced tuberculosis cases. Some independent researchers suggest that since 162 people died at Waverly Hills in 1945, the highest total number of deaths possible over 50 years was approximately 8,212. So this is what Stewart wrote, that the worst time of death was at the end of the Second World War. So, and of course, this is when troops were returning from overseas with very advanced tuberculosis cases. Some independent researchers suggest that 162 people died at Waverly Hills in 1945. The highest total number of deaths possible over 50 years was approximately 8,212 people. So that's a pretty good amount of people that have died over the last 50 years. And of course, here's what the plug looked like. And of course, the wall, as you can see here, after it had closed in 1961. And here is the empty building of where the fresh air and the sunlight had to come in. And it wasn't easy getting sunlight and fresh air into that part, but they had to use something to allow sunlight and fresh air. But by building this part of it, yes, it was part of it. And of course, this is an empty building, was purchased by a number of buyers in the following years. So I could only imagine how many buyers there were. It must have been hundreds of buyers that were making bids on this hospital. An episode of the Sci-Fi Channel television show Ghost Hunters features a cast investigation of Waverly Hills, including a local myth about the death of a nurse by murder or suicide in room 502. Legend says the nurse found out she was pregnant by the owner of the sanatorium without being married and had contracted tuberculosis, so she hanged herself with the light bulb wire outside the room she was in at the time. So the Ghost Hunters, they feature the cast investigation of Waverly Hills. Now, and of course, the nurse by murder or suicide in room 502. When she found out she was pregnant, she caught the tuberculosis or contracted tuberculosis. So she could not bring a child into this world. So what she allegedly did, she hanged herself with the light bulb or outside the room she was in at the time. So she couldn't bear a child during that time when all this plague was going on. So she decided to take her life and the baby's life as well. And of course, this is some of the other stuff that's been abandoned during its years of operation. There were numerous treatments that would now be considered very barbaric. And of course, this is what it was. Waverly Hills Sanatorium has been a TB hospital, a nursing home, a failed religious monument, and now a paranormal investigation site. The halls of the Waverly Hills Sanatorium have seen thousands upon thousands of tourists and visitors from all around the world. I would not be touring that place because it's too creepy, it's too scary. I don't care what time of the day it is, day, night, whatever. No. Waverly Hills has been a TB hospital, It's been a nursing home, it's been a failed religious monument, and now it's a paranormal investigation site. So all the paranormals from all around the world, they can go and investigate this place. It is creepy. I would not want to be there. I would be running for my life and say, see ya. But Sanatorium have seen thousands upon thousands of tourists and visitors from all around the world. So that's what it happened. It's seen a lot of things that nobody has ever seen before. And of course, Waverly Hills, yes, it's sad that people have passed away there because of this plague. Leave your comments below. I am out.